Now, my question is, why is so much panic anytime it's all about Biafra? Once you hear about this Biafra panic everywhere, why is it like that? I have never been that a preacher of Biafra, but when you see things happening, you begin to wonder what is going on. Anything Biafra, people will start to panic. Why is it like that? But my own is always about confederal system, regional system of government. That is what personally I have been talking about, you know. So, but with what is happening now, I don't understand. But the thing is that the international world is watching. If we think that they are not monitoring, they are watching and they are seeing what is happening. Though their own does not come empty-handed, they usually go with interest. That is the other side of it. But you must be alive first.
Nigeria has to be careful. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel are not coming to help. They are not coming to help Christians but Biafra, and they must be stopped.
Nigeria will be divided into two. They will not give you Biafra. Nigeria will be turned into two nations, the southern and the northern. Biafra will come by reason of revolt. Now, if you can make note, make note. If you can. 2026 in view. There will be too much fear on earth. There will be what? There will be too much fear on earth. That is number one. Number two.
The persecution of Christians or members of any religion cannot and must not be tolerated. And Muslim militant displacement and attacks against Christians in Nigeria, that too must end. And it must end now.
Nigerian government to take a look at pardoning Sunday Jackson, who is an individual who was fighting for his own life, defending his life against one of these Fulani militants. That Fulani militant lost his life in that struggle, and now that person, Sunday Jackson's facing the death penalty. Now, where's the justice in that? Where is the justice in that? And all these Fulani militants are breaking the law. They are breaking Nigerian law.
Well, some things we do, we think is going to last forever, but in the actual sense, it will not. Those things that we do wrongly is just for a while. And after some time, everything will fade away. The solution must come out. If by now people struggle to find solution to different problems, especially the one we are talking about, terrorism and the rest, that there is problem. US now is interested in Nigeria, in what is happening in Nigeria. Jerusalem, that's Israel, is also interested, you know, about Israel, how they operate.
Psalms 96:14 asks, who will rise up for me against the wicked? Who will take a stand for me against evildoers? Nigeria is facing one of the gravest religious freedom crises in the world. As the former chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Africa, I have visited and have seen firsthand the direness of the conditions in what is now the deadliest place on earth to be a Christian. They are targeted, displaced, and killed simply for their faith. The ancient plea, is there no help for the widow's son, still echoes today. Since 2019, nearly 17,000 Christians have been killed. In the first 7 months of this year alone, hundreds more were murdered. On June 13th, during the Yellowwater massacre, more than 280 Christians were slaughtered in a single day. These are not isolated tragedies.
Let me ask you, my sister, will you go to Afghanistan to invest today? That is a powerful question. You don't need to. Nobody tells you. Nobody. Let me tell you why countries have embassies everywhere in the world. The United States Embassy in Nigeria is the only credible entity an investor in the US will listen to come to Nigeria. Not Peter Obi or anybody going there and preaching. The reason why we set up country-state embassies in a country is to study the situation of that country. So the British High Commission gives the British people, including their businesses, I've been part of it because I lived in the Britain. They give them the feedback whether to come or not. And I can tell you, if you go and read their report, you are now second or third most terrorized country in the world. You are now, in terms of drug prevalence, you are now number 1. So nobody is going to go.
So actually what Peter B is telling us is that the business trip that they tell us they are doing, that is not for the interest of the country. They are doing it for their own personal interest. That is what he's saying. And if you look at his statement, you see that it is true. Actually, it's true. You don't need all those traveling that they are doing, going to other countries to say that they are going to attract investors. Attract investors how? Investors already know what is happening in your country, and they don't even need you to tell them what is happening. Like you said, they have their embassies where they can get their information. So actually, it's not what that some of us think. And also, we need to watch it, because always there will be a time. There will be a time when things will come to the fullest, that it will have no space again. Then another things start to unfold. That is the thing. I bet you that the things that is happening in this country may not even happen in another country. And I saw these predictions, some things you see. I don't need to neglect it. I'm not saying that it will happen, but I am not the only one that will hear this one. Others can also come and hear what this preacher is talking about, And sometimes it brings to notice what we are passing through. Who even authorized the amalgamation of the North and the Southern Nigeria? On whose interest that it was done? Is it in the interest of the Africans, or is it in the interest of the business people that came, that is the British? You see? So these are the things that, we should look into. They have done it that time. Well, it is a mistake. We assume that is the best awareness that is available then. So, but now, nobody says that we must continue with that. We can start to unfold some of these things. And many African countries, they undo their own. So what is happening in Nigeria? Is it that some few people have interest in the natural resources that is abundant in Nigeria? That is a big question. But as an Igbo man, I know that all those natural resources is not our concern. We don't care about that. We need a favorable environment to thrive and do our business.
You must find an Igbo man. Igbo are the larger exporter of goods and services. Igbo stand out. And then Igbo are not found in government, yet they control the economy of the nation. These are facts. Kudos to the Igbos.
Nigeria will be divided into 2. They will not give you Biafra. Nigeria will be turned into 2 nations, the southern and the northern. Biafra will come by reason of revolt. Now, if you can make note, make note. If you can. 2026 in view. There will be too much fear on earth. There will be what? There will be too much fear on earth. That is number 1. Number 2. Nigeria may be turned into a 2 nations under 1 nation. Southern Nigeria, which is the Christian race, and northern Nigeria, which is the Muslim race. Now, on Tuesday, the United Kingdom officially declared Nigeria a Muslim state. I know you may not hear that. I said on Tuesday, the United Kingdom declared Nigeria publicly a Muslim state. That is a Muslim country. And I told us on Sunday, for those that were here on Sunday, I'm not giving you prophecy. I'm telling you what we have decided up there. That Netanyahu is coming to divide Nigeria. Then, 2 days ago, that was on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday was yesterday. Netanyahu was in America. and had a meeting with Trump on how they're coming to Nigeria. 2027 election may not be what the politicians are thinking, because Nigeria will be divided into two. They will not give you Biafra. Biafra will become by revolt. I hope you're right. Nigeria will be turned into two nations, the southern and the northern. There may not be a Biafra. That is, okay, let's give you Biafra. Biafra will come by reason of revolt. Okay, my help revolt. By the time they declare southern Nigeria, we may come back and declare Biafra, covering Delta, the whole south and southeast. That is how Biafra will come. They will not come and say Biafra, Oduduwa, Arewa. Northern and southern Nigeria. I hope you wrote it down. They will not give us Biafra. America and Israel will not give us Biafra. They will give us southern Nigeria. Then Biafra will become by revolt. I hope you understood that grammar. Many things will appear in the sky. The religious nations will tremble and submit to Saturn in the name of God. It will look so real as though you will see an angel walking in the cloud. It will be so real. But those things are electronic wave, current wave that will be projected. The elites of the earth know. They've already set the plan. So there will be signs in the sky this year. I don't know how they will project them, but you will see some signs in the sky. I'm talking to you now as my listeners and followers that when you see those things and people are panicking, just mind your business. Know that it's not from God. It's not from the elites. Know it. They will shoot some things into the atmosphere. It will go through the space and explode, then descend and form something that look like Jesus walking in the cloud. And it will be there for days. My only prayer is that may it turn the heart of men to look for him. Do you understand? So finally, give yourself to the service of the Almighty God, so you'll be saved from certain pestilence. There will be diseases. You see. There will be what? Disease that can kill in hours, in days. They will have divine immunity. If Ebola cannot harm us, if HIV cannot harm us, if COVID-20 or COVID whatever cannot harm us, this one will also come and pass. In the name of Jesus.
Okay, oh, now don't watch now the prophecy be that, no be me talking, but I say, make I show you people, say no be only me go watch him. Now, you are going to see that video of Netanyahu that is causing problem. Some people are now panicking that Israel is coming to Nigeria to, establish Biafra. Yes, watch the video, and also don't forget to always, drop what you think about this situation. Thank you.
The persecution of Christians or members of any religion cannot and must not be tolerated. And Muslim militant displacement and attacks against Christians in Nigeria, that too must end, and it must end now. I'm sending Israel's Christmas blessings to our Christian friends around the world, and I ask you, know that Israel will always stand with you. From Jerusalem, I send warm greetings to our Christian friends around the world. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. From here, the Holy Land, Israel, the only country in the Middle East where the Christian community is thriving. Israel is the only country in the Middle East where Christians can practice their faith with full rights and in total freedom, where Christian pilgrims are embraced with open arms and are so deeply appreciated, where Christians can celebrate proudly their traditions and openly do so without any fear. In Jerusalem, the city municipality every year officially distributes Christmas trees. It's been doing so for 2 decades. By contrast, a few days ago, in the Palestinian town of Jenin, Palestinians burnt a Christmas tree in the Holy Redeemer Church. That's the difference. Israel stands up for Christians across the region, wherever they face widespread intimidation and persecution. While Israel's Christian population is growing, the Christian population in countless areas across the region has been dwindling due to systematic discrimination and oppression. This has happened in Iraq, it's happened in Syria, it's happened in Lebanon, it's happened in Turkey, and it's happening in the Palestinian Authority. The birthplace of Jesus, Bethlehem, used to have 80% Christian population. That's when we were there. When we left and gave it to the Palestinian Authority, it has since dwindled from 80% to 20%. The persecution of Christians or members of any religion cannot and must not be tolerated. And Muslim militant displacement and attacks against Christians in Nigeria, that too must end, and it must end now. I'm sending Israel's Christmas blessings to our Christian friends around the world, and I ask you, know that Israel will always stand.
Well, as an Igbo man, if they don't want to recognize your gift, if they don't want to recognize your values, you tell them you always pronounce your values. And I am very happy that some people outside the Igbo land are very, good to know that, to recognize these values of Igbo people, which cannot be overlooked like that. Some people are still fearful. They still fear God, that they still say the truth in as much as the general knowledge of downplaying an Igbo man is what is obtainable. Yet, there are some still, few people that are good, that they say no. They don't want to be part of it, that they always want to speak the truth about the matter.
Come. Let me tell you the reason why the Igbos are not suffering. I am a northerner, an indigene of Borno State, and I am proud to be an indigene of the state. Let me tell you the reasons why the Igbos are not suffering, despite inflation, despite economic uncertainty. Igbo carry about 24% of the population of the entire nation. Both the Igbos that are living within and outside Nigeria. Igbos are the oldest tribe, are the oldest group in Nigeria. Igbo stand out despite the hardship that people are passing through in the nation. That is the whole Nigeria. I am not saying Igbos are not suffering, but they are the less suffering group or tribe in the whole nation because of a unique characteristics. Igbo are the only tribe that no nation you will go in the whole world without finding Igbo. They are the only tribe. Any place you go in the whole world, in the entire world, you find Igbo. I made a research, and my research and my findings are valid. That Igbo can be found anywhere in the world. No any country in the whole world you will go without finding Igbo. Professor Patrick Pulo Lumumba once said, if you go to a particular place without finding Igbo, run. Igbo are the only tribe you can find in any profession in the whole world. To mention but a few, you find Igbo in management, you find Igbo in marketing, technology, communication, human resource, trades, healthcare, education, hospitality, consulting, pharmaceutical, aerospace, engineering, computer, information, agriculture, accounting, manufacturing, film industry, music industry, business development, sales, forestry, food space, any other profession you will find on earth, you must find an Igbo man. Igbo are the larger exporter of goods and services. Igbo stand out. And then Igbo are not found in government, yet they control the economy of the nation. These are facts. Kudos to the Igbos.
Let me ask you, my sister, will you go to Afghanistan to invest today? That is a powerful question. You don't need to. Nobody tells you. Nobody. Let me tell you why countries have embassies everywhere in the world. The United States Embassy in Nigeria is the only credible entity an investor in the US will listen to come to Nigeria. Not Peter Obi or anybody going there and preaching. The reason why we set up country-state embassies in a country is to study the situation of that country. So the British High Commission gives the British people, including their businesses, I've been part of it because I lived in the Britain. They give them the feedback whether to come or not. And I can tell you, if you go and read their report, you are now second or third most terrorized country in the world. You are now, in terms of drug prevalence, you are now number 1. So nobody is going to go to a war. The person has to be alive to enjoy the return on his investment. So nobody is going to go with you and everything. Intel is just investing 7 billion in Malaysia. I haven't heard the president of Malaysia going anywhere to talk about that. He's in Malaysia. The investors' money go is like a bee. If you put honey here, the bees will come. How they will penetrate through this door, you won't even know. You need to put things in order. We need to sit down and do our work here and do the proper things. The things we can do to stimulate the economy. For example, we just sold 5G auction and we have made $550 million. Let that money be properly invested today in creating maybe a tech innovation or, supporting STEM courses that will help to grow the country in the future. We have a pool of young, energetic, talented young men. Today, India, all Asian countries, outsourcing is becoming expensive. So they are looking for where to go. Let's put that money into what can help us. If we do it properly, we could be creating Facebook and companies like that in the future. Today, our entire stock market is valued at $45 billion. Facebook valuation is $900 billion. So we're not even 5% of Facebook alone. And we have so many people who can create such companies there. But by the time you know it now, they use the money to pay judgment debt. What type of thing is this? Is what I'm saying. Let us do the proper things other people are doing. Okay. It's very easy.
Okay, let's talk about debt. With this budget of 16 trillion proposed budget, we're going to take another 6 trillion deficit on top of what we have before. The debt stock has grown to about 38 trillion now, and we are still going to add more to it. Increasingly, the argument is we don't have a debt problem, we have a revenue problem. But debt to service ratio at some point was over 90% in this country. Is it that we need to rethink debt? What is happening with debt?
The reason why we have a problem with debt, I've said over debt, I started talking about debt since 2017. If you look at my lecture in platform in May 1, there's nothing wrong with borrowing. I'm a businessman. I've lived all my life by borrowing. You can't go wrong because you don't print, money is not planted in trees. Even this business you are is done by borrowing. But if you borrow for investment, it is good. If you borrow for consumption, it is bad. The reason why debt in Nigeria is having a problem is that we're borrowing for consumption. So you're throwing in debt away and everything. And I give you an example. If you go and survey, forget the Western world, if you survey all the countries in Africa, the major 10 economies, over the past 7 years, Nigeria has borrowed the most, over 300% of our initial debt. We're about $18, $20 billion before. We're hitting 100 now. And this is the one that is, quote, official. If you put other ones that CBN is supporting, it would actually be hitting about 60-something. 50-something to 60 trillion. But these debts have not been properly invested. That is the problem.
So whether you like him or not, Peter Obi is the man of the people. Yes, that is why people are clamoring for a kind of, change of electoral system, a kind of, reformation of the electoral system that we should always monitor what is being, the result of the election at every point in time. That time we thought that the system is going to be showing us the result online. Now everything was done abracadabra. You never knew, how the whole thing ended. So whether you like him or not, he's the man of the people. And there is so much hope on him to help salvage this country. Well, we are going to wrap it up with this talk about Nigeria. If you think that people don't know, people are following closely and monitoring closely what is happening in this country. So don't have that impression that people don't know. They know, they're all aware of the going-ons in this country. So let's see this.
A question that I have for you is, the Nigerian Constitution prohibits the ownership of firearms. But somehow, these Fulani militants operating in the middle belt of region of the country, they're all armed. And we're not talking about ISIS, we're not talking about Boko Haram. Why hasn't there been some type of move or campaign by the Nigerian government to disarm these militants that are operating there, where we're seeing a lot of this killing that is coming from them? They have access to AK-47s and other small arms to slaughter Christians. Is this something that you've been talking to the Nigerian government about? Because I think it would actually have a serious impact, and it is something that I raised with the Nigerian government officials when we met with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Moore, and thank you also for your service on this task force that will be providing recommendations and your meetings with the Nigerian officials. Appreciate that. I think that this is an excellent suggestion as part of the strategy that we are putting together, in particular to talk about the policing aspect of this in what is happening in the Middle Belt, so that we can focus resources and have specific recommendations on actions that the Nigerian government can take. I very much appreciate that suggestion.
Yeah, it just seems to make all the sense in the world to me. It's like, here we are. I mean, I understand we're not going to get like ISIS to lay their arms down. That's probably more of a kinetic option there that's going to result in their arms no longer being brought up in anger against Christians. But in any event, this seems to be something that, obviously, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is something that they should be doing, they should be looking at. And while I got just a couple seconds left, I would urge the Nigerian government to take a look at pardoning Sunday Jackson, who is an individual who was fighting for his own life, defending his life against one of these Fulani militants. That Fulani militant lost his life in that struggle, and now that person, Sunday Jackson's facing the death penalty. Now, where's the justice in that? Where is the justice in that? And all these Fulani militants are breaking the law. They are breaking Nigerian law. And so this Sunday Jackson disarms this person with a knife, protects his own life. He's going to prison and now faces the death penalty. And Fulani militants just roaming bands of them with AK-47s, and that's no problem. You are so right about this question of prioritization. I know I'm over time, Mr. Chairman, but I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moore, for your leadership.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for your personal invitation, for your leadership, and for your friendship. I'm honored to be back. Psalms 96:14 asks, "Who will rise up for me against the wicked? Who will take a stand for me against evildoers?" Nigeria is facing one of the gravest religious freedom crises in the world. As the former chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Africa, I have visited and have seen firsthand the direness of the conditions in what is now the deadliest place on earth to be a Christian. They are targeted, displaced, and killed simply for their faith. The ancient plea, "Is there no help for the widow's son?" still echoes today. Since 2019, nearly 17,000 Christians have been killed. In the first 7 months of this year alone, hundreds more were murdered. On June 13th, during the Yellowwater massacre, more than 280 Christians were slaughtered in a single day. These are not isolated tragedies.
So with that, gentlemen and ladies, we are going to call it a day. Yes, I am still your presenter, Chinedu. Until I come your way next time, I say bye for now.